Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
Welcome back to the show. Jan Salisbury joining us here from Leaders Who Coach and Salisbury Consulting, based out of Boise, Idaho. But she's helping people all over the world with her programs. LeadersWhoCoach.com. That's the website. And we welcome you back to the show today. How was your weekend?
It was really good, Jill. I got to go to the Oregon coast for some business last week and always want to
Ooh.
spend time on the beach.
I've heard it's so beautiful there. I have yet to go, but one of these days, and Boise. I've never been to Idaho. These are all things on my bucket list. And now as I get
Oh,
older, I'm like, I need to plan some trips with my children, and they're, you're on the list.
good. Well, give me a call. I'm happy to let you know what I know.
Well, thank you so much. So do you want to just give us a little bit of your background? Tell us what you do to start.
Yeah, I do several things. I'm an executive coach and I coach individuals and teams. I also am a Vistage chair, and Vistage is worldwide, and I have a group of leaders who come together every month for a whole day, and we have these world-class speakers and we process issues, and it's really a fantastic way to develop people. And finally, I have Leaders Who Coach, which I started 14 years ago to help leaders coach using the same principles as professional coaches. And that's really my main focus.
Beautiful. And I know for today, we're going to talk a little about, well, how do you choose a coach, right? Because there's a lot of coaches out there, all have different credentials, different backgrounds, and even leaders who coach. How do we find the right person? How does it work?
Well, it's interesting because I think 14 years ago, coaching was not being used very much by organizations, except for organizations like HP, who I did a lot of coaching for. Most organizations, though, have really gotten on board. And one of the challenges is when you start to coach somebody that just says, the organization says, oh, here's some coaching, go for it. One of the challenges is that so many times the leaders don't really know what they want. So I think the first thing that a person needs to do is sit down and say, what do I need? What are my goals? What do I want to improve? If I have challenges, what are those? Because coaching isn't just a general sort of, oh, let's have a good conversation. It's really focused on you and what you want and what you need. So that's the first step. And the
And
second, go ahead.
no, go ahead. I was just
Yeah,
segueing to
okay.
the second. Number two.
Okay, number two. The second part is, what kind of a coach do you need? The kind of coaching that most executive coaches do, and myself, we really are not about the content, except that we've coached a lot of leaders and we understand leadership. But other people might choose a wellness coach, or they might have a business coach. And those are really different kinds of coaches
Hmm.
because they come with an expertise. You were talking last time about you had a coach come in and give you feedback about how you show up. See, that's a
That's,
different kind of coach, right?
yeah.
And you found it very valuable.
Yes and no. A lot of things we knew, and then we just felt, well, again, this is every circumstance was different, right? And we learned some stuff. Some stuff we were just not happy with because the other coach at a different TV station told us the exact opposite when it came to color. So that was our own personal thing. But overall, I think it does help. Absolutely. And that
Right.
was for those wondering. I was in the television business. We had a coach come in to talk to us about how we talk, how we look, how we present, what we wear, how our hair and makeup is. So it's a little, yeah, different than that.
Yeah, it's a different kind of coaching. So I'm going to
Yes.
focus now on executive coaching. And
Okay.
the second part is, what kind of coach do you want? When I engage with somebody, they get a whole bunch of questions. And part of the question that they need to answer
Yep.
is, how do you want me to be as your coach? And I'll tell you the most popular answers. I want you to be honest,
Okay.
right? Whether they do or not, they're really looking for some feedback. They're looking for a chance to see themselves mirrored, to really get a sense of how they're coming across. And I don't mean in a physical way, but as a leader, what's going on with them.
Hmm.
So I think that's a very important part of coaching. What do you want? What are your goals? Um, and then the second part really is choosing the right coach. What's the background you want? And in that perspective, I would say to start with somebody who actually has credentials. And by credentials, most of us in the United States go by the International Coaching Federation, and they've really upped their game in the last 20 years. It's been about 18 years since I became a professional coach, and we have certified programs, and it's 60 and usually 120 hours of not just instruction, but feedback. You're getting feedback. And by the way, you can't be a coach unless you have been coached, unless you are being coached. It's part of the learning and it's part of the process. So look for those credentials. They really do matter. And there are these different levels. And yeah, I'm in a master certified coach level, but that doesn't mean that the other levels are not appropriate or good or the people aren't competent, because I've certainly seen many who are. I started the coaching association here 14 years ago, and I'm watching these coaches come up and they're very, very good. So look for the credentials and then ask yourself, how long do you
Yeah.
want this to last? Now that's usually a conversation between the
Okay.
coach and the person, but usually coaching comes in packages of 12, 24, a year, 6 months. And the reason for that is you want to change something, you want to improve something, and that doesn't happen overnight.
Yeah.
So it's giving you a chance to actually see your progress, measure it. Because part of having an executive coach is you're measuring some things. How did I start? Where am I now? And I'll
Mm-hmm.
give you an example. I was coaching somebody who kind of had a block. And I didn't know that there was a block. I just kind of sensed it and I asked about it. And she said, well, next time. I thought, okay. So next time she described a situation where somebody had actually betrayed her in the workplace.
Yeah.
They had lied to her, and it really bothered her because one of her top values was honesty. So we talked about it a bit. And I will tell you, after that, she just took off. And now she's applying for other jobs. She has a job, but she just got a call, and it just was a matter of confidence. There was something in
Wow.
her that was blocking her. I I just it's rare that I see someone who that blossoms like that. So you're really looking for, and by the way, sometimes gender and ethnicity matter. I mean, sometimes you want someone who kind of matches your background. Sometimes you don't.
Yeah.
But pay attention to that because it can make a difference for you. And finally, you may ask questions like, have you ever coached anybody in the high tech area? Have you ever had clients that were in manufacturing? They're not advising you about it, but at least you know that they have some sense of what's in your world. And then when you get together with a coach, really sit down and hone on those goals. They really matter. And and when you are identifying your goals, also remember that they may change, right?
True.
4 months later, you may say, that's not really what I'm
Aligning
looking
with.
for.
Mm.
Right. So I need to redo those goals and pay attention and by the way, you should interview people, right? You should have
Interesting.
what you call that discovery conversation. It's very
Mm-hmm.
important. I met with somebody recently, and I don't know how they got my name. Oh, from the ICF. And they were looking for someone that matched. And I thought, okay, we'll have a conversation. And it turns out we had a lot of things in my background that matched with what they were doing as a coach. And that really made a difference for them. They weren't going to have to translate history because I already knew some things about it.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then finally, not just choosing a coach, but make sure that you and the coach are having conversations about how it's going. Is it going well? What would you like to see improved? What things is the coach doing that is making a difference?
Yeah.
So if you have to be really engaged in the conversation and in the coaching, and I think then you have the best chance of success.
Great. Well, we also want to remind everyone how we can contact you. Please share.
So I have a question for you, Jill. If I gave you that criteria, what would be some thoughts going through your head?
Well, okay, leaderswhocoach.com, by the way, that is the website, right, to get to you. I don't know if you heard the question. I'm sorry. Leaderswhocoach.com, go right there to the website. You can contact her in the meantime. So, yeah, finding a good fit for someone, obviously, it's interesting because you're right. We should be interviewing each and every one in a sense. So, if I'm going to also suggest, I think it's fair, you tell me, that you do offer this initial conversation. I think it makes sense before you commit and pay a large fee to talk to someone. It's nice to know people like yourself offer that 15 or 30-minute discovery call. And you have to have that. You want to work with someone who's like-minded, right? But then you also need to work with someone who has different thoughts because they're also going to help you gain, but you have to feel comfortable, trustworthy with someone. And I definitely agree. And I love that you say that, not, hey, I'm the best, talk to me and I'm going to find you a perfect fit. No, talk to a few people and see moving forward if you do have the same backgrounds, or like you mentioned, if you're in the same field in a sense, you know the same terminology, verbiage. So it's, you definitely would be prefer to work with someone, I think, that definitely has your best interest in mind, who's kind of worked in your field. So if I was to get a coach again, which I could definitely use a coach, and I would, yeah, you just want to, what's the word? Jive with that person.
Yeah.
You want to feel at home. You want to feel like you're a friend and a confidant. And think that's what it comes down to. Someone you could be friends with. And I'm sure a lot of your clients have become friends.
Well, I wouldn't say they become friends because then it's a two-way, but I think there is a kind of intimacy with coaching that can happen because, frankly, especially leaders, they're so isolated. And so sometimes a coach is a place. I have people who come to me and says, I cannot talk about these things with my team.
Mm-hmm.
This is about me, and I want a place where I can just talk about anything and really focus on the things that matter for me. So I think that part is super important about coaching, is having that place where you can go. And I hear a lot
That's
of
safe
people
space.
say, yes,
Mm-hmm.
it's absolutely a safe place. And by the way, I love what you said about having people who also think differently. It's a great
Yeah.
quote by Einstein.
Oh,
Problems aren't solved with the same thinking that created them.
I like that. I never heard of that. See,
Yeah,
who knew? I'm
yeah.
channeling the smart man, but
The smart man. Yeah,
yes.
yeah,
And I know you also for today you wanted to talk a little bit more about well, coaching, but in particular you mentioned self-coaching, and you want to do
right.
a little role play with coaching, I think, right? Self-coaching you
Yeah.
mentioned.
Well, I was gonna do some role play with you actually.
Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah, so that's not quite self-coaching, but if you have sort of a small thing, maybe it happened years ago, doesn't matter as long as it's real. And I'll
Mm-hmm.
just kind of model some of the things I've been talking about on your podcast.
Okay. So a
Okay.
problem that's come up in the workforce, right? Is that kind
Yeah,
of what we're looking
it is
for?
in the workforce. And
Perfect.
the question I would always start with is, what brings you here and what is it you need?
Hmm. Well, this is interesting. I'm not sure if you could help someone with an issue like this. In my workforce, in my career, it's always been a male dominated type business. Men control, men run the television, the news stations, from the executive producers to the general managers to the news directors. It's always been a man's club, a little bit of that. And it's always been touchy for us women who work under these men. And I had a few different instances I can share with you where unfortunately, I came back from maternity leave and they changed my job. Come back from maternity leave, they make comments about, when are you losing the weight? True story.
Yeah,
How do you handle that? Because this is your job. You want to have a job. You know it's not kind of right. You don't want to go to human resources and jump the gun because they're really close with these guys in the guys club for 20 something years. So it's uncomfortable, but you
yeah.
also know it's not right. How would you advise someone on this type of situation?
Well,
Because,
I'm going to coach you. I'm not going to advise you. And
okay,
yes, this comes up all the time.
okay.
And I wish it weren't true. I have a daughter who's 39 and I wish she didn't deal with any of this, but sometimes she does.
Mm-hmm.
And she and her friends at 39, they've got some really interesting ways of dealing with it.
Mm-hmm.
But putting that aside, I want to ask you a question. Let's imagine you are in that situation now. Okay, here's what I'm hearing. Number one, you are in an industry because it's male dominated. There's certain behaviors, attitudes, and things that are coming at you that really bother you and they get in the way. And
Yeah.
what I'd like to ask you is, and I imagine emotionally that just takes away from your ability to do your job as well. And what I'm wondering is, in the few minutes we have here, given that you are actually in that situation, what would you like to get out of this conversation?
I want to find a way where I feel valued as me for my work, and I want to feel comfortable. I want to be okay with my body, with myself, and not have to explain myself. But I also find myself having to do that and pressure of that, which I don't think is right. But I have to conform. I have to Yeah, because then you
So
worry about.
right. So
I'm not
there's
sure if I'm going to answer your question, but
no, no,
I'm
no,
in
no,
that.
no, no.
I'm in the
Yeah,
realm. I'm
you're
in
in
it
the
right now.
right. So
Yeah.
I'm hearing a couple of things. One is, hey, this is my world. I can't
Mm-hmm.
change the whole world, but
Mm-hmm.
at the same time, I don't like it.
Yeah.
And I wonder if there's some things I can do differently that would help me to retain my confidence and not pay so much attention to how they're approaching me about this issue.
Yeah.
Is that what I'm
Yeah.
hearing?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Tell me a little bit. Um, I want to hear a little bit in the past, because I know this isn't the first time. And I want to hear a little bit in the past, Jill, about how you've approached that and what's been successful for you.
What's been successful is for me to kind of close my mouth
Right.
and do as they ask, which doesn't feel right, but I wanted to keep my job. So it was, yep, I'll be good. Yep. Oh, of course. Yep. I'm working out. Yeah,
So the
appease.
assumption, yeah, you're making an assumption, I think, that by keeping your mouth shut, that is the most successful thing you can do.
I did. Mm,
Yeah, and so I want you to imagine that you're going to do it differently a little bit. Okay.
okay.
And have you seen other women do something differently? Have you ever had a role model that you went, wow, that's a great way to handle this? That's a great idea.
If I was strong enough at the time, I would have said, why does my weight matter? I just had a baby. And yes, I have to lose 20 pounds at my own pace. Like I would have had a little bit of an attitude, but I would be more standoffish saying, oh, I didn't know me being a little heavier from having a child would this affect my job. I'm still just a great broadcaster. I'm still able to go out. I'm still able to go on shoots and do my interviews. I don't know how a little extra weight, makes me not as good at my job. I would have loved to hear his reaction, like
Yeah, wouldn't that be interesting?
put him on the spot, but then I feel like he would have not renewed the contract that year. Yeah, but that's what I would have done and hear what he had to
Okay.
say and say, like, ask a question back. But that's very, the word is ballsy and scary for someone in my
Right.
position. But
So one idea is I just simply deflect and I ask a question back. Now, the nature of the question, how do I ask a question to sort of deflect and at the same time maybe create a little awareness on their part? That's kind of what I heard in that last response.
yeah,
Um, and one of the challenges of all this stuff is the fear of retaliation.
yes,
That if I really am me, if I really put, as we say in Idaho, put the moose on the table and talk about what this is really about, does that disadvantage me? Because
yeah,
people's feelings are hurt, or they're like, oh my God, this is an uppity woman, and all of those kinds of things. Does that sort of fit what you're thinking?
yeah,
Now, the
yeah.
question I had, is there any woman in your industry at any time that's responded to those, not that specific set of comments, but other comments that are, sexist, frankly? Have you ever had anybody that you thought, that woman is really doing what I would like to do?
Yeah, well, this one girl years later slapped with them with a lawsuit, and so after I
Yeah,
left, this all happened, and I was like, "Go for
right.
you!" Like, wow, like, yeah, yeah, over sexual type of discrimination. So she went at them, and they lost their jobs eventually, all of them. I just feel like it's karma, but she stood up for herself. Hers was a little more severe, but still, like so I'm proud of her. I wish I was able to stick up to them. I mean, but I
But
never
that's pretty
did.
extreme. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's an extreme thing. And so
Mm-hmm.
thinking about if this happened now,
Yes.
and you've been
Oh.
through all these ideas, let's talk about a few ideas, and they're just ideas, a few
Mm-hmm.
choices you might have about how you might respond when somebody talks about you losing weight. And by the way, you don't have to be pregnant for those comments to show up.
True. No, you're right. You're right.
Yeah.
What would I say now?
Yeah, no, I just want to explore with you. Give me three choices about different things you could say now.
I would say, yeah, having a baby, you add a lot of, yeah, I gained some weight. I didn't think that was a problem. I'm happy in my new skin. Lucky I have clothes to fit in and take a more positive approach. Or I
Okay.
could say something like, yeah, I'm disappointed in myself for gaining some weight, but I'm going to be back on track in the gym and I'm going to be perfect in no time. And if someone else commented about my weight, I could say, yeah, I hate feeling heavy. Happens to all of us. Like I think I'd be more like passive, but I don't know if that's good.
Well, instead of thinking about what's good, I want you to think about what feels right for you.
Oh, what feels right is,
Yeah.
yeah, I gained weight. Don't we all at some point in our lives? And nothing wrong with me. I'm still the same person and I still do my job the same. I'm just a little heavier, wearing some bigger size clothes. That's
Okay.
kind
So
of
what?
that's
Yeah. So
that's
I want
how
you
I
to,
would.
so that's how you, of those three, that would be the
Yeah,
response that
yeah, kind
feels
of.
most authentic.
Yeah, yeah, it's a little like sarcastic, a little, but that's kind of me. Like, hey, yeah, it's okay, but I'm kind of calling you out, but I'm not. But I feel
Yeah.
comfortable saying that. That's what I would have said.
Now, if we were really coaching, and of course it's a short period of time, the next question I might ask you is, who would be the person? Now, I understand the comments are being made,
Hmm.
but let's say they're made by several people. Who do you want to say that to? You don't have to
Oh,
say their name,
oh, I
but
could. I'd
yeah,
say it
okay.
to David and to John. I would say it right to them. Yeah, I would say just like that.
Okay, and I want you to think about any barriers that you feel right now that would get in the way of you doing that, either
Barrier
internally. Yeah,
internally, scared that I'm going to lose my job.
right, right,
Yeah, it's a
and
big one. It's a big one.
right. And have you seen women lose their job recently because of pushing
Oh,
back like that
I've seen that in the past. I
in the
haven't seen it.
past? Okay.
Yes, I've seen that. Hmm.
So it may also be true, and I don't know, it's your decision, that the industry is changing.
Yes, I
And
feel it really
because it,
is.
right, and maybe there's a safer atmosphere for you to push back, to be yourself, your little sarcastic self,
Hmm.
and to help them realize that you're okay with who you are.
Yeah,
Okay, so that was just a tiny bit of
tiny bit
coaching.
of how it,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. Okay, so how did that feel and what did you notice?
Good. I feel more powerful. I wish I was now the way I was. I wish I knew then what I know now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
don't we all, right?
Feeling more confident in my own skin, years later. Yes. Yes.
So that choice, whether you do it or not, just talking about it and choosing it helps
Is,
you to feel empowered.
yeah.
And honestly, that's kind of the essence of coaching.
Okay.
It's also the essence of coaching for people to walk away, even though it's hard and even though you're wondering if it's going to work, more confident,
Yeah.
more clear
Yeah.
about what it is they want and what the best choice is for them. So you just experienced a tiny bit of coaching.
Hmm. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, what do you think? I mean, I've been describing this stuff for a long time.
It feels good. You're just guiding me to know what I already kind of know, but it kind of affirms that I'm okay to be this way. And you give me the confidence to move forward and be my true self with, yeah, I get it.
Okay. And, along the way, I might have also said something like, Jill, I see that part of you that's a little feisty. And I see that coming out here. And frankly, I think it works for you as a host. So good
Thank
on
you.
you.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank
Yes.
you.
So I would have done that too if we had a little bit more time to
Oh,
do that.
thank you.
Yeah, you're
Well, thank you.
welcome.
We still got 3 minutes left in the show. What else
Okay.
can
All
we do?
right. What else can we do? Well, I would really encourage, by the way, I sometimes get leaders who come to me and this just happened. I said, I think your organization can pay for this. So why don't we talk about it and you go back to them and you say, hey, here's what I would like, here's why, and I would like to work on some things that would improve my leadership. I think so often, and by the way, sometimes they're no, not just women. There's a sense of, well, I need coaching, I should pay for it. I would say 98% of all the coaching I do, because it's executive coaching, is paid for by the organization. And in some cases, I do a three-way conversation so that the organization, the person, and I are all clear about the boundaries because of the confidentiality, and they understand. And we kind of sometimes get clear on the goals if the organization wants to be involved in that. So those are some other steps you can take.
Thank you very much. I
You're very
appreciate
welcome.
this.
Yeah. Well, it's a big field and there are a
Yeah.
lot of people in it. And
It's pretty amazing that how do you find now for someone like me working in the television broadcast business, but you're a leader, I could go to you. I don't need, right? Like I don't need a
Right.
specific genre of coach. It's someone
No.
who, no, that's interesting to know. See?
That's competent. And I wanted to
Yes.
tell you, if you came to me, I would also share that I used to do work for Universal Studios and Sony and Disney. So
Oh,
yeah, so see, that would enter into the conversation and you
yeah.
would say, oh, you know, something, it's not radio, but yeah, you know,
Yes.
yeah,
Interesting.
yeah,
Well, thank you. Thank you for making me feel more confident in my ability and
yeah,
to talk to someone about it like yourself.
yeah. Well, you're very welcome. And you've been a great host. I
Oh, is
really
this our last
appreciate it.
show?
I think so.
Oh, okay. I didn't know. Well, thank you
Oh,
so much. How did you want to leave off with everyone today about why they should reach out to you?
well, I think they should reach out to me because I'm honest about whether or not things would fit. I think they should actually look at leaders who coach and really consider if they're a leader to really add not just that skill
Mm-hmm.
set, but that mindset about coaching. And we have a program on deck right now. It's a virtual program.
Okay.
We also do it in person, but this is virtual, and that is at the end of April, the beginning of
Okay.
May, and you can go on the website and register.
Yay. And what's the website?
leaderswhocoach.com.
Perfect. Thank you so much. We appreciate your time here today and looking forward to the next time we connect. I won't say goodbye since you mentioned this is probably our last show, but I'll say till next time, right?
Okay.
Sound good?
Thanks so much, though. Yes,
Thank you
that
so
sounds
much.
great.
All right. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you again for everything. You've been awesome and very helpful to so many. So continue up the good work. And curious, do you get coached still? Do you have a coach for something that you work on?
Yes, I
And
do.
one specific coach, or do you go to multiple coaches? Can
No,
people use
I have
one?
once,
Or
well, for me, I have one because she's at a level that she really
she's a
she can really
master.
challenge. No, she can
Oh,
challenge me.
all right, good.
And I trust her. And I trust her.
That's important. Trust is one of the
Yeah.
key things. That's right. Then reach out to you for that discovery call and good luck. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jill. Take
Bye,
care.
Jen. Have a great day.
Are you looking for even more of the podcasts and hosts that you love? The Podcast Business News Network is proud to announce that you now have even more ways to listen live. Check out the MyTuner Radio, online radio box, and Simple Radio apps on iOS and Android, or find us online. Search for Business News Network on mytuner-radio.com, or search Podcast Business News Network on streama.com and onlineradiobox.com/US. Take your podcast on the go and don't miss a minute of the action.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house.
And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned. This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.